Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. Right here with Spears.
How y'all feel out there?
Steinberg. What time is it? Game time.
Hey, y'all. I'm in a little bit of a I don't know if giddy is the right word, but a ticklish on your belly or under your feet kind of mood. Because we are in my favorite city of all the Ohios. There's Dayton, Toledo, Cincinnati, just a bit outside, Cleveland, and Columbus. So we are here in Columbus. I like Columbus. I like it, man. Was it Easton or Easttown? Easton.
Easton. Yeah, but you know what? I said that this is my favorite Columbus too at the crowd last night, and they didn't give a shit. They know that the other Ohios
suck.
Yeah, so they don't feel like that's a compliment.
And they laughed.
They laughed, but they didn't feel like I thought it was like compliment. I was like, you're the titties on the painting. You know?
Did you say that?
No, but that's what I feel like.
You should have said that.
Yeah.
Say that tonight.
The titties on the painting.
Yes, that's funny.
Yeah, but they were like, yeah. So what? We know you don't like it.
But what's great is they got a good sense of humor, and they want to have fun.
They came out last night, especially like you said, that second show.
Yes, and this is why I go. I'm telling you, man. I don't mean, I do, to keep shitting on the city of Cleveland, but there's something so drab and dreary about that fucking city that it feeds into the energy, and it's projected out into the audience. Whereas here, it's the opposite. You know, as I went downstairs to get the emails from the front desk, you know, you look into the lobby. It's big, it's beautiful, it's spacious. They got a sexy bar. You look outside, these big, huge cathedral-like windows. There's remnants of snow, what was left from snow that's been on the ground. It's a white, beautiful, even though I know it ain't Christmas, it's got a Christmassy, white, snowy, beautiful coziness to it. They got the fireplace and just this area, the mall. It's a good energy here. Whereas Cleveland, like I said, the fish are dead and it's floating in the water. Ugh.
But it's here.
I fucking hate Cleveland.
You're just so mean. There is a heaviness to Cleveland that is not here.
It's a fucking... What do people on depression take? What are the pills they take? Zoloft. It's a Zoloft city, man.
Anyway, getting back to Columbus.
Yeah.
Crowds were good. Both crowds were good last night. Exceptional last night in the second crowd. They were. Every time you said something, it was unbelievable how loud the laughter was.
A big shout out to that girl with the most infectious, beautiful, energetic laugh. Every time she laughed, she hit you with a face like she heard the most outrageous shit she ever heard and was prepared to die.
Where was she sitting?
The black girl, right there.
Right there to the left, right?
Yeah.
Her mom.
Beautiful.
Her mom, though, I loved her because she didn't want to laugh at some of the things. So she put her hand over her mouth.
Yeah.
And that made me so happy to watch. When she would finally break up and she had to move her hand.
Yes.
You knew you won.
We're going to rock and roll real quick. But before we do, a couple things to put you guys up on because I don't want y'all to think that we're slacking, and we're not on top of it. We are going to talk about Snowfall. I saw episode 1 of the new season, and I didn't want to go no more. I want to binge. I cannot do that to myself. We are going to talk about Winning Dynasty, the Lakers' new series on HBO. But again, potato chip. This is potato chip TV. I cannot do one. And then what else are we forget? Oh, we're gonna talk about Batman. I'm gonna see Batman today. When you're listening to this, it'll be Wednesday. But while we're recording, it's Saturday. I get home Sunday. I'm gonna see Batman on Sunday with this Robert the Parakeet Pattinson. And then we'll talk about it. Andy and I record that one on Monday for he and I will decide whether it'll be the next podcast you hear or because we got this Frederick Douglass piece too. from this great documentary, Frederick Douglass' 5 Speeches. So just to say, we got some shit in the crock pot. We don't want you to think we slacking. Like, how are you not going to talk about Batman? How are you not going to talk about the Laker thing? How are you not going to talk about Snowfall? We going to get to it. But we got a lot on the menu right now.
Just because I did see it, the Batman.
Yes.
I just want to tell you before, and this has nothing to do with the movie itself.
Yes.
It has to do with your opinion of Robert Patterson. Patterson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. James.
He is the Cleveland of Batmans.
He's just a bit outside.
Just a bit outside.
There's a comic book artist. I believe it's James Byrne. Jim Byrne, I think is what his name was. And he worked for Marvel. He did the X-Men when there was the new X-Men and made it a big deal. He never put an upper lip on any of the comic book characters. They never had like an upper. They had a bottom lip and just like a line for the upper
That's
lip.
white folks.
That's Patterson.
Yeah.
When you're watching it, I'm like, where? He's missing his lip.
I will say this, the one thing, and obviously I haven't seen the movie, so we can't get into it.
Yeah.
But just, if you've heard me on the podcast, I'm not a fan of this one. I hate Pattinson. Nobody beats my baby, Ben Affleck. But one of the things that turned me off about this Batman immediately, I don't like this nigga has a collar on the uniform. He's got a fucking collar, yo.
Just go see it, though. I'm telling you, it's not as bad as you think, but I just thought it was funny that he actually embodies like a Jim Byrne drawing.
Yeah, but most white folks ain't got lips.
None.
None. Y'all got lines.
Well, this is
Between buttocks and the lips. Y'all are the line people. I got lines. Nigga. Y'all don't have meat.
That's why that allows us to digest dairy.
Okay, there it is.
It's the
Okay, let's have a moment of vanity. Phat Tuesdays. We're late with this one. If you haven't seen it on Amazon Prime, Phat Tuesdays. It's a 3-part. Is this a documentary or a series?
I think it's a series.
It's a series doc about the glory moment, the glory days of black comedy in Hollywood at the Comedy Store, which, Guy gave it credit for launching all the other copies, of the success of a Phat Tuesdays, which started it between the only 3 premier white clubs in L.A., Laugh Factory, Comedy Store, Phat Tuesdays. Phat Tuesdays was the first. Then eventually came Mo Better Mondays at the Improv. And eventually after that came Chocolate Sundays at the Laugh Factory. Nigga nights. But it was the one that started it all. Yeah. Well, before I dive in, any first thoughts?
No, I was excited because you called me and you told me
I'm in it.
You're
I'm in it.
Yeah,
I'm in it.
So that was exciting. I was going to
Yes.
see you in it, and so I was surprised though. I was just surprised that how much responsibility he isn't getting outwardly with the comedy boom that's going on right now.
So my guy?
Yeah. For what he really, the impetus, the beginnings, the
Right.
roots. And to take it a step further, and I know we're going to get into this, so I'm not, but one of my favorite comics of all time that I talked to you about, and you said didn't know if he would hold up today, is Robin Harris. And and so I'm not going to peel any more off that onion.
Right, yeah,
I'll
'cause
let
I
you.
will- yeah.
I'm going to let you open it up, but I'm only saying it to say this. Shocked, because I had no idea.
Dude, you came up with 2 quotes I've never heard you say. And when I hear, and you've done it before in the past, and I'll ask you, is that you? Like, you made that? One was titties on a painting, and peel the onion. Is that you?
No, I think that's a common one.
Okay.
I think that's
I
common.
like that. Well, I'm telling you, y'all, I don't know if you notice, but Andy's karate is getting a little bit stronger. Pretty soon, he's not ready yet, but pretty soon he will go to the kumite and represent his shidoshi. Yeah. Incidentally, Andy did a thing last night here in Columbus where some broad said some shit. And this is how I'm noticing growth with Andy. When you're not used to doing crowd work, your first instinct as a comic when someone says something is to go, I'm a comic. I got to respond. So you almost with a little bit of nervousness, you rush into the moment because in your mind, you're trained as a comic. Oh shit, I gotta handle this. But when you start to become a shidoshi, you handle it, but you don't rush. You take a minute. You maybe do a Danny Glover neck roll. I'm too old for this shit. Crack your neck muscles, and then you handle it. And last night, his poise, his timing, and his not rushing it was very Danielson-like, and it killed. I was proud.
You know, you've said this before. When it works for you,
It works for you.
yeah,
And when it don't work for you, it don't work for you.
For whatever reason, whether it was me not rushing, whatever it is, it worked for me because she made it work, though.
Right.
She opened the door. I took it. Like you said, I didn't come rushing in.
Right.
Man, it almost feels like, and this is what's funny about it, and this is, unless you're a comic, you're not going to understand this. It almost feels like I knew what I was doing. And when I say that, I mean, you never know what the other person's going to say. You don't know what's going to happen next. You can will it to be water, my friend.
Yes.
You can be water,
Yes.
but you don't know.
You don't know, but you know.
Right.
It's a controlled, you don't know, but through your, you know.
And so you will it to happen,
Right.
because of what your ability is. But man, I'm telling you, you still you do it, and I know you're going to get across to the other side.
And there are times when I do it and I don't get across like I thought I would or I wanted to, but they don't know that.
Right.
I know that was kind of weak.
Yeah, that was the first time that I ever just let it go and let it
Yeah.
completely let go. Like a lot of times I'll get like a good laugh or something when I think it, and then I'll go, okay, well, you got the laugh. Get out of it while you can.
Right.
And I didn't. I sat on it and kept going, and that was the first time I ever.
Sometimes you got to stew in shit to be able to get past the smell. I think Jennifer, I forget which actress it was, but it was that, again, you black people, y'all gonna know, the black actress who plays the mama in a lot of black movies that talks, you know, like this. She played Tina Turner's mother in What's Love Got to Do With It. She had a great quote where she said, if you sit in shit for so long, eventually you could get past the smell. I might be paraphrasing, but basically, if you sit in it long enough, it don't stink to you no more. And last night, you sat in it.
Yeah. I had, that was fun. That was really fun.
Okay, so immediately Pauly Shore says, he goes, talking about how Mitzi had this deep love for the comedians, that she gave them this platform out of, and he used the word love. Love for the comedians and the respect of the black comedians. And then here's where I wrote, when the fucking truth is, it was just the most profitable night of the week. When they were making so little, and they say this in the documentary, the Comedy Store, yes, in the boom of the 80s, it couldn't be touched. But then somewhere in the 90s, they were about to close the doors because it made so little money. And the one night that kept them afloat and kind of resurrected them was Nigga Night. And I'm sitting here going, come on, Pauly. I guess that's what you're supposed to say. But when you sit here and you go, my mom just had a love for black comics and the respect, and she loved Phat Tuesdays. Of course, nigga, it was cha-ching. And, you know, Mitzi's, but it was cha-ching. So stop masking like you really had a love for niggas. Now, here's what makes this tricky. Did she genuinely love Richard Pryor, George Wallace, Marshall Warfield, Jimmy Walker, who seemed to be really Byron Allen? Other than those five, I don't know other niggas that ran through the Comedy Store. Oh, Paul Mooney. So yes, she loved those guys. She respected those guys, maybe saw them as family. But if she really had a love for black comics like Paulie's trying to portray, then why were there comedians that would complain that there were kind of double standard rules that in part had to do with race and why they couldn't get in? Like, you understand the slippery slope to me here?
I get it. I think she had a love for comics. I think that there's a comedy sensibility that got her and that she loved him because there's a lot of comics that she didn't like that are famous comics today, and she just didn't like them. She didn't feel for him that way.
Speaking of your boy, she told Robin Harris he was too black.
Okay.
His comedy was too black.
So there was a certain type of comedy that she liked. And I'm not saying that it and this is where it gets complicated. The culture.
Right.
I don't think that she had a problem with a black comic. We still got one. I think she had a problem with something, as you just said. She said it represented a black culture that she wasn't part of. I don't think that she got those kind of jokes. The same way that she felt other comedians, because there are black comics that she got 100%. And I can't speak for her because I don't know
Real
her.
quick, okay. And now when you see what you just said a second ago, Marsha Warfield, Jimmy Walker, Byron Allen, George Wallace. Now we know Paul Mooney's the Nat Turner of the black comics. Other than him, do any of those comics come off to you black?
Well,
Byron Allen,
the way you just said
George Wallace.
I refuse to answer it the way that you said it. Do I feel like they represent the culture? No, not in its entirety. Yes, they're representations of the culture, but do they represent the comedy, the culture, the comedy that's in that culture? No. I feel that they're more mainstream.
Do you think that Jimmy Walker, Byron Allen, George Wallace, I think Marsha Warfield could. You think they could perform at a all black room and kill it?
Marshall Warfield, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Byron. I've never seen. Honestly, Byron Allen. I've never really seen Byron Allen's comedy. Have you seen it? Have you? His comedy is stand up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not
Very
gonna-
Rondell Sheridan like.
Okay, so I think that speaks to who Mitzi is. She likes that lighter kind of comedy. Look at some of the comics that she did like. She had a taste. Let's say that. And I don't think she was opposed to a black comic. I think she was opposed to, if I say it this way, this might sound worse. Maybe black life, like the honesty that's in a black in.
Nobody told that more than Paul Mooney.
But there was something. But Paul also came with Richard.
Ah, there you go. There you go.
And Richard was the man. It had nothing to do with anything else.
Richard, Mitzi, that bitch knew that I came with Richard. If you got one, nigga, you get the other. We were two niggas in the same ghetto, nigga. We were two niggas in the same projects. You couldn't get one without the other. Richard was my friend. I was Richard. If Richard and I were testicles, we'd be in the same sack.
That's funny. That's really funny. I do think, though, she was looking for people that she could push forward into comedy. I think that's what she was looking for, and I think a lot of times maybe she didn't see it in like Robin Harris, who I think, and I got Robin Harris in the 80s, and I thought he was the funniest person ever. Not babies, kids. The stand up.
I'm gonna put a pin in that because I want to really get into Robin, but I'm gonna be, I wouldn't say I share Mitzi's sentiment as far as the black thing, but not getting him, I agree there, but not because he's the black shit. But I'll put a pin in that. I gotta say again, and I know I've mentioned this, it really bothers me when, look, and you can tell me if you agree, disagree, right or wrong. If I know your name is on the club, I know you run it, Mitzi, but shouldn't it be if someone is funny, that's the criteria, not your personal views? She rejected Steve Harvey, and Steve's a beast on stage. So I'm just going.
She wasn't a fan of Seinfeld.
Okay, but if you sit in the back and, as you do, to judge who you gonna let in, even if you not feeling that person, but the room is laughing, shouldn't that be enough? Why is your personal opinion getting in the way of what's obvious?
Well, that's what's called a gatekeeper, and that's always been the
terrible.
case. That's always been the case. But I'm going to say this about Mitzi too. In the '90s, and when you said her love of the comics and the black comics that were coming through, and her love for them, I say yes, she did love them, and yes, it was comedy based for that love because that property is worth a lot of money.
Comedy Store, you mean?
Yeah,
Right.
And if they wanted to get out of it, They could have just left and made a lot of money. And actually, as we went into the 2000s, I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about this, but that club was in jeopardy of going away into the comedy boom. I mean, like, not because...
When you say into the comedy boom, you mean the 90s and Phat
2000s? No, the 2000s, even after... that had already rolled through.
Right.
And
then it got in trouble again?
It was just that there was it still wasn't making money. And Mitzi wasn't well then. Mitzi started, she was sick. And now the family that was running it, because Paulie's his own entity. Paulie's doing comedy on the road. Paulie's making his own money. He made movies. He's not living off the Comedy Store. But the family is, and they ain't making money. And there was a push just before things really started to blow up again to sell that thing. And I thought it was going to be sold.
Really?
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the way, it boomed again.
It boomed, and it boomed quickly. It boomed. Part of it may have been because of the change in management, which I think has a lot to do with it. And the boom was already brewing. Mm-hmm. But when all that happened, that was a perfect storm, and they didn't have to make that decision because they started making money again. And Mitzi was, of course, the focus because she was ill at that time, and so they were focused on Mitzi. And the store blew up again, and then they went in that direction. So I think, though, while she was healthy and it wasn't making a lot of money, she was doing it for the love of the comedians and the comedy. And I don't think that the comedy was enough. I think it's the comedian. She liked the contact. She liked the people. I think it was important to her.
Now let's get into, because in the first episode, they talk about, obviously, the whole purpose of Phat Tuesday was because of a lot of black comics who couldn't get in. So for them, the choice became the Comedy Act Theater, which, was off of Crenshaw, in Lamert Park. And I remember, dude, and I'll allude to this because this is one of my other points. In the 90s, back then I had my Lexus Land Cruiser, and I lived in West LA. And so to drive from my house to Maverick's flat, which was up the street from Comedy Act, about maybe 15, 20 minutes. And this club was booming. Comedy Act was the spot. Robin Harris was the ringleader. And I remember, dude, and they even said it on the documentary, the way it was set up, when you walked in, the stage is boom, you could see the stage from the moment you walked in. Off to this right side, in order to get to the bathroom, you had to walk past the stage and up these steps, and Robin would murder you. People would literally rather leave the club and go piss somewhere else than walk past that damn stage. So the Comedy Act was the shit. I get certain aspects of why Robin Harris meant what he meant to the black community, because again, he was everybody's uncle. He was everybody's drunk uncle. That uncle that got drunk, talked shit, played spades, played dominoes, a hustler. He had that part of it that was ingrained in our culture. And those one-liners, or certain things like, and it was so hot, I saw Superman in the cab. Niggas, you got your shoes so rolled over, you got to lay down and put them on. Just certain shit, the blackisms. But other than that, blasphemous for me to say, and I know I'm going to catch heat, same way I said, the Martin show wasn't it for me like it was in the black community. Robin Harris didn't do for me what it did for most black people.
I had this, and okay, this isn't going to sound like anything to anybody, but I went out and got the CD immediately when I heard a little bit of Robin Harris, and I got that first CD. And the reason I said it doesn't sound like a big deal is because today no one gets a CD. I mean, you had to go out to go get a CD.
Right.
You had to go
to the record store and shop
to get the CD. Yeah. Love that man. I swear that, I don't know, it hit me, it tickled me. I was at the right age. It got me. The only thing that disappointed me was when I saw House Party, and the bits that they would use.
Right.
It was like it fit the movie, but he was like, it was bigger than the movie, or it didn't feel like it fit like it should have. Like, I wish they would have let him do his. I thought he was they tried to control what he was doing. And
Underutilized him?
Yeah, it just didn't feel right. I mean, yeah, he's great in it.
Right.
I'm glad that he got that movie because that's something I watch a lot, and I'll see him, and it makes me, because he's not here, obviously. But it just, I didn't feel like that was his best performance at all. That wasn't even close to his best.
Yeah, look, it felt like, for what he was and what he could do, if you had to choose for somebody to be in that role, he was the guy to go to.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go, what other alternative would you offer? I couldn't see anybody else at that time but him. But I know what you're saying in terms of you wanted the potency of Robin Harris. And you didn't get that.
No, like the follow the drip, it was funny, but it was so limited in what he did.
Right.
The only part that I even liked was from a small town called Fresh Off a Cop's Ass.
And I'm home. You're making me homesick. I'm about to do Bernie Mac.
But that was Robin Harris.
Right.
The rest of it's obviously Robin Harris, but it was so controlled. It didn't have the same Robin that I wanted it to have. But no, he meant something to me in comedy right then. Again, I didn't know I was going to do comedy. He meant something to me at that time.
But when you say he meant something to you, is part of that because for you as a white guy, comedically, or not comedically, who doesn't know that culture like that, that's almost tantalizing to your ears. Where for black people, and for me personally, we know that culture. And while, yes, it is tantalizing to black people's ears because, again, Robin, for most people, was incredible. And I'm not trying to diminish.
I know what you're saying, though.
You know what
It's
I'm saying?
a taste.
It's a taste. So did you think that's, for you, that's part of what it was? Like, I ain't never heard no shit like this or a dude who's...
No. You know why I can say that? Because even that Piccolo player joke made me laugh. So I like long... I like the fact that he had one-liners, and that Piccolo joke is long, and you have to go through it, and it's a long joke. And in that room that it's being recorded in, that's an extremely long joke.
Right.
Sitting next to the man, sitting next to the man, sitting next to the goddamn man, right? You know which joke I'm talking about. I was like, this dude is fucking, it's amazing to me. Like, I love that he did the one-liners. He could do the long joke. He could keep control of the room. He didn't give a fuck. And I think that's what was telling. He didn't give a fuck.
Right.
And I love that about comedy. That's what I liked about Pryor.
See, I think that's what it is. I think that comedically and stand-up wise, he didn't blow me away. But in film, especially Do the Right Thing, what do you call himself?
Sweet Dick Willie.
Sweet Dick Willie. A whole movie of that, I think I would have loved.
Yeah, that character having
that character.
That would have been something. But I just liked Robin Harris. So when I saw that, I was like, damn. But the other thing that I didn't realize because I was youthful, Robin died at 36.
Yeah, I thought he
He looked like 56.
Yeah,
at least.
I love when Linnell was like, "Look, you eat hog moss and hog head cheese and chitlins and drink Kool-Aid, you gonna have narcolepsy too." God damn. Baby's Kids made you laugh?
Baby's Kids wasn't my favorite, but I wasn't against it. But the first time you hear it, it's funny. The second time you hear it, it's funny. But when they made a whole show out of it, I wasn't.
I forget what the director, the guy's name was, but they said that their goal was to make a live action movie.
Yeah.
Now that I think would have been funny.
That might have been more interesting.
An animation piece felt, even though the context and the dialogue and the jokes were the same, that wouldn't have changed.
Well, but other people would have brought it to life, so you would have got more perspective.
Right.
With it just being a cartoon, it's just Robin's perspective with nobody else's edge brought to it.
Right.
And I think that maybe that hurt it. But when you Baby's Kids, it's funny the first time. It's funny the whole time you hear it the first time, but that doesn't have the same potency to me.
Like Baby's Kids and Mudbone, to me, were the same in terms of its effectiveness.
Mudbone, I understood it and I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't want to go listen. I wouldn't want to go see Pryor and have him do a whole hour of Mudbone.
No. But and here's where I think sometimes I go, and I've said this on the podcast, I've said this on stage when I go, hey man, I'm a Huxtable, that's good times. Because I did not grow up so deeply in the hood. I didn't grow up in the projects. I didn't hear gunshots. I I didn't have relatives that I knew of who sold drugs and did time and ghetto shit, real hardcore nigga shit. I think sometimes maybe I'm not able to connect to some of that. I think Mudbone, some of what Robin Harris did was so deeply rooted into the next level of black that maybe I'm just not getting it.
Let me just ask you this question, and let me see if I can help. If I'm correct, maybe I'm not correct. If I asked you where Mudbone is from, where would you say he was from?
I assume he's from the South.
And do you have any connection to the South?
No, because I escaped a long time ago.
So what I'm saying is, that's where your disconnect to this is. You come from New York. You have a different relationship to the culture. You don't really participate, or frankly, and I'm not trying to be rude, I don't think you enjoy the Southern black culture.
I enjoy the food.
The food, but you don't even like the hip hop music that comes out of the South.
Oh, at all.
So I'm just saying maybe that's where this disconnection on some of this comes from.
But you know, they are, listen, nigga shit is nigga shit across the board, even though it does culturally vary. You know, East Coast nigga shit is just as downright.
I'm not going to try to break down
Make that make sense.
any of this N-word type of stuff that you're trying to put before
I guess
me.
let me put it in fruit terms. They're all different kind of apples. They're apples, but they're different kind of apples. You got your Fiji, you got your Washington, you got your Granny Smith. And yes, it's an apple, and but there are slight differences in taste, a little bit. But it's an apple. That's what I mean.
Yeah, and it makes sense. And you know what? Even hearing you say that, I think now I might, and I'm speaking completely out of turn here because I don't know anything about Mitzi. I really don't know Mitzi. I know
Right.
stories about Mitzi, what I've heard about Mitzi, a little bit that I've talked to the people that are very connected to Mitzi. Mm-hmm. But maybe when she said to Robin, it's too black, maybe she didn't mean comedy. Maybe she meant for this room. Maybe Robin going up in that room to do comedy in that room for
White folks.
might have changed Robin. Might have changed how Robin's voice sounded.
No.
But saying that is, it wouldn't identify in that room the same way, where he went to a different room that allowed him to really amplify his voice.
Let me ask you,
himself.
okay, do you think Robin could have been 100% Robin in that room had she passed him through and still killed it?
Yeah, but maybe it might have taken a little bit off of it because of who it is in the room. I'm going to tell you something that is 100% true, and you may agree or may disagree with me. But I've done comedy with you now for over 4 years.
Right.
I used to do comedy in Arizona, and I could do white or black rooms in Arizona. I went on the road with you. I held my own, but I wasn't great. I wasn't that good. I'll be honest. I wasn't looking back on it, I wasn't that good. My voice was a tentativeness in it. Now I can do, I think, almost any room with you. I think there's still places I'll have a hard time, but I think I can hold my own. When I go back to what were those easy white rooms,
Right.
I have a hard time in those rooms now. Not a hard time. I realize I can't say things. I have to take a little off the gas.
Okay.
And I've realized it because recently some things that I've said, maybe just it hits a certain amount of the people in the room, and there's a certain amount of white people that understand it. But there's some that just, why did he say like that? I didn't get it. There is a difference. And I wonder if, I don't know, I think that she knew what she could make famous or what she could push. And I think she had an idea of who she could push. And if she didn't feel that she could push someone to another level, I think that might have been some of it. Because I think for Robin's benefit and for a lot of people's benefit, it was better not to do that room.
Right.
It was better for Robin to go do the room that he did because of what that made Robin. I think it might have made a difference had he, if he tried to do it. Robin is a crossover. I don't see him. I see Robin natural. If he crossed over and tried to take off some of the stuff that he took off, I wouldn't like it.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Is it me?
Yes.
Or does it seem like success has tamed Chris Tucker? Because, when you look at him on Def Jam, especially his first two performances, Chris was hardcore. And I know at one point he became a born-again Christian. But it just seemed like even when he did the interviews on Phat Tuesdays, I just went, he don't have that hard edge he used to have.
And that energy.
And that energy. Which when he had that, Chris was undeniably the dude at that time.
Okay, but let's break this down then. I'm really enjoying this. I didn't think I would have anything to say on this. When Chris came to California and become Chris Tucker, how many minutes did he have?
Oh, stage time?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
None. He had 5 minutes.
Right.
He made it because of his energy, his excitement, his enthusiasm.
And you hadn't heard that voice, man.
Yeah.
That cadence, that voice, you'd never heard that before.
With that energy.
Right.
You had to have that energy with that voice.
Right.
You couldn't just wait up there with just that voice.
Right.
Now, he has success. And when you have success, it comes with money and power, and you have things, homes and cars. That weighs a lot. You can't have that same energy when you're jumping around on stage when you're carrying all that shit with you.
Okay, but to the flip side, Dave is rich. Dave is highly successful, and he's Dave.
But Dave came with jokes and minimal energy. He had energy in the beginning, but it's still minimal compared to Chris Tucker energy.
Right.
There's a difference in that whole set. Dave is made. Listen, I always know it sounds like I'm sucking Dave's dick on this shit because I'm a Dave fan.
We both sound like it.
But Dave was built to go on for as long as he wants to go on. His set, his jokes, everything. His voice has changed completely from where he started off from.
But just to second what you're saying, I'm again, it's subjective, but Dave's just a better comic.
But that's what
Period.
Yes. But I'm saying he had joke structure. He had jokes.
Right.
He came with that.
Right.
He started doing jokes at 14.
Yeah.
Chris Tucker came to California with 5 minutes of jokes and energy and enthusiasm and a drive and a want to.
Right.
That's a big difference between how Dave cultivated his career. Dave could go on forever. You can only be that voice, that guy, and that energy for so long. You have to develop something else.
Right.
You can't be 60 and doing that.
It was right. Yeah, I mean, and that first set, and personally between the two sets, and I know in that second set on Def Jam for Chris Tucker, he had more of a "I'ma really rob the shit out you" look with the beanie cap and the leather vest. But that first set, when he ended with the "Come here, boy, mama, I'm coming. Come here, boy, mama, I'm coming. Come here, boy. Well, why don't you hurry up? I will if you shut the fuck up." Like, oh man.
When you got nothing though, you got nothing to lose, and he threw it out there every single time he went out.
Yeah.
At the beginning, because he didn't. But my favorite part about that, and I don't know if you're going to go there, so I don't know if
That story?
Yeah, with the
Yes. Bill Bellamy and Bernie Mac?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the greatest. Because
I forgot that dude got booed.
I didn't know that, and that's when I learned.
I totally forgot about that until they put that clip in there, and he was like, when Bill tells the story and goes, "Yo, Chris murdered." So then this dude had to go on behind Chris and ate it. And I love and Bill Bellamy don't do a lot of impressions. The only two I know he does is Tucker and Bernie. And his Bernie is not bad at all. His Chris is pretty good too. But he tells the story and Bernie and what's great about this, and if you don't know, but what's great about this when you know, where Def Jam was shot in New York in that theater, the way the building was structured, you literally had to walk up flights of steps, and one dressing room was on top of the other. So the people that don't know it can't really see it. But for the people that know it, like myself, that visual of Bill below Bernie, almost like niggas in New York on the fire escapes. And Bernie's leaning over, "Bill, that motherfucker just got pulled, motherfucker." "Yeah, man. Oh, shit, that motherfucker crazy." Whatever it was, which set Bernie to come out and do "I ain't scared of you motherfuckers." Jesus, dude.
See, I heard the story about him working with now I forget the DJ's name.
Kid Capri.
Kid Capri. And I heard the stories about him. They were fucking around before, so they were already had something going.
Right.
But to know how it all came together
was
something that I didn't know, and that was amazing to me. But I'm telling you, that set and what you get to see from it. I still say that Bernie Mac 6 minutes.
Yeah.
is the best 6 minutes ever recorded.
It's what blew him up.
But it's the best minutes. It's the best 6 minutes recorded for a set, because
Yes.
I don't know anybody. People will tell me, like when I was learning to do comedy, and somebody said, this comic once said to me, 5, 6 minutes, I can't tell my name in 5 to 6 minutes. And I was like, really? And I sent him that video. I go, he told you everything, including I'm going to be a millionaire in this 6 minutes.
Right.
So what are you telling me?
Right. And I don't know if you ever remember or if you ever saw it, but that was Bernie's second Def Jam appearance.
The other one's the Stir Your Coffee one.
Stir your coffee, and he ended with the Take Me Out to the Ball Game, which was cool, but it didn't make him a household name.
No.
That second one changed everything, dude.
It was amazing. To me, it is the best 6 minutes of comedy ever recorded, captured like a 6 minute set. Not like 6 minutes pulled from an hour. I'm talking the best 6 minutes just in a set I've ever seen.
Would you put that up there with Bill Burr's Countdown?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. I don't. Bill Burr's Countdown was semi. That was someone paddling to save their life. Actually, that's the difference. He actually planned a set and then kind of manipulated the set a little bit. But that's a real fucking set. That's a stage set that you're gonna do.
Right.
I think it's the best. But let me ask you this question before we move on. Who was on your Def Jam?
It was me, Ellen Cleghorn, who was on Saturday Night Live, Arnez J, and I can't remember the other dude. He got booed. Yeah.
So was it? Because I wasn't ever there.
Right.
What was it to you when they're talking about this? When you're going on stage? What was your feelings to do Def Jam? Or were you just I'm ready to go?
It was a little bit of I'm ready to go, but remember, not like it's a whole lot of time. But I had at least 2 years in before Def Jam. 14 to 16, I hadn't done white. I wasn't white mainstream yet. So all my 2 years of training, Terminal D in Newark, the Peppermint Lounge in Newark, or East Orange, Club 88, Tribeca, Indigo Blues, nothing but black clubs. So I was already trained for black people. So I knew, you don't know, but I pretty much knew, unless I go out there and really fuck this up, I'll be all right.
What number were you in the four of you?
Oh, I think it was second.
Did the dude before you bomb, or who was?
The guy that bombed came after me.
Oh, so he had to follow you and then he bombed.
Yeah.
Ooh, that.
I'll let you allude to it.
Does that make you feel okay? It makes you feel good and bad at the same time.
Yes. But again, when I go back and I look at the old Def Jams, it's squeamish to me. Just how raw it was. And I mean, does it hold up to now? No. But, for what that was at that time by a 16-year-old, yeah.
No, it was good. But a lot of the people, listen, they weren't. Was Hamburger mentioned in this?
No, I don't think so.
There's a lot. Was Shucky Ducky mentioned in this?
No, I don't even think Shucky Ducky did Def Jam. He did Comic View.
Oh, Comic View. Okay.
Remember, Def Jam was the one that ushered in Comic View.
I thought
like Cedric never did Def Jam,
but he's
Comic View. He was the Comic View dude.
Right.
Hosted, made his debut. He was a Comic View guy.
Yeah. How do you think Cedric would have done in that atmosphere?
Oh, he would have killed it.
He still would have killed it.
Hell yeah.
Because Cedric has a different flow though than.
Yeah, but Cedric also is so deeply rooted, in that. Like, remember, I posted an old picture of it was me, Cedric, Ian Edwards, Craig Robinson, and my man Corey Zooman Miller out of Atlanta, and Bob Sumner, of all of us in the younger days. And I'm telling you, Cedric is from St. Louis. Cedric was nigga, dog. The way he wore his hat, when you look at the picture, the way he's bending down with the jail pose and got a black and mild. Before success, niggas be niggas. Then Cedric blew up and he's doing commercials talking about, ordinary tasks. This nigga's pronouncing his words.
But he's always, I've always been impressed with his ability to be a standout comic, but be able to host. Like when he would host,
he
knows. That's why I'm saying I that's why I was asking how he would do, because his presence is to promote, not promote, but to usher in comedy more so than I know he's a great comic.
Right.
But he has this way about him that's just different. Chappelle never did Def Jam?
Yes, he did.
Did he?
That's where he did the genius, famous invention of the word nigga joke.
That is where it comes from.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But as I always say, Chappelle didn't become popular with black folks on a heavy level until Chappelle's show. He was almost boutique black. Them niggas that knew who he was, but not like they knew Martin, not like they knew Bernie, not like they knew black dudes who was deeply rooted in that ghetto shit.
Okay.
I got to dispel this myth. Steve talked about on the special the difference between white audiences and black audiences when you're doing bad. And I've said this. Look, black people, and black people give it to you. But listen, when he said white people will just be polite and be quiet, sober white folks. Because drunk white folks just be bad as niggas, dog. Drunk white folks don't really yell out and heckle, but when there's alcohol involved, they become more that 1920s, woo-hoo. That shit is real, man. White folks can be problematic, man.
I don't disagree with that at all. But the one thing is that white people generally don't do, and I think you might have had this happen last night. They don't usually get extra when they're having a good time. Black folks will do that. What I mean is and they don't mean it to be disrespectful to the comic. They like putting a little extra on after you say something funny.
Black people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can throw off your time.
Yes.
Now didn't you say last night the person that was doing that, was that a white woman?
I couldn't really tell because I couldn't see, but from the sound of the voice, it sounded like a white woman.
That's the first time I've ever heard. If that's true, that's the first time I ever heard. Like, that's where they repeat your line or give you the tell them, say it again.
That was black people.
That was black people, but that's the first time I've ever heard a white person doing.
Right. Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah. There was a book I stole.
Bible of comedy.
The Bible of comedy. Is it
Comedy Bible?
No. That's another book I stole.
If you're missing a book at your library.
No, I didn't steal them at the library. I stole them out of the comedy clubs in the green rooms. But there was a book I stole. It was a great read. It was basically comics telling stories on the road.
Oh, I know which one this is.
Yeah.
Because I have it. I got that book.
And there were so many examples of comics telling stories about being heckled by white people. So that's why I'm saying this myth that white people are just so polite and don't heckle and are just not as rambunctious as niggas is bullshit. Even though when it's time to let you know you stink, black people,
I think that was more the point. It wasn't about who does what. I think it was more like who does this. And the point that he was making is white people, and you say it this way too, white people will applaud effort.
Yes.
Oh, he tried. And I like how Steve Harvey did. Oh, he bless his heart. I think he said bless his heart.
Yeah.
That is yeah.
Tell me if I'm the Rodney King part where they introduced the Rodney King situation. How was that relevant to the special? And I thought it went on for way too long.
Because it happened in that time period and how it affected comedy, and it had to affect comedy somewhat. But it is a turn. But I think I'm trying to put in what happens in a community affects the whole community.
Okay. All right. I mean, and when I watched it the second time to prepare for this, towards the end, I went, oh, okay, I think I see the connection. But at first, when I watched it, I just went, why is this in here? And it's entirely too long. Like, what does this have to do with the Comedy Store?
Do you still think, well, because it's in L.A.?
But it was in the hood.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand the connection there. All right. before we jump to episode 2 real quick, and I don't have many more notes past that. This thing almost brought me to a nostalgic tear. It was the mid-90s. I was on Mad TV. I was lean, trim. Had money. I had a Lexus Land Cruiser. Do you know how much pussy I got during that span, dog? I was that moment. And when they show the special and they talk about, and it was real like that, the Comedy Store was the Studio 54 at that moment of comedy clubs. And I like when John Sally was like, you know, you go up the block to the Whiskey, to the Roxy, where it was white rock shit, wasn't no cop cars nowhere. But there'd be 15 cars around the Comedy Store on nigga night. Like, we just can't breathe, nigga. But you could walk through that motherfucker. All 3 rooms was packed. The women, I mean, and even when I was there, like I said, I had the thing with Tupac. Often I would see Shaq. I never knew Prince came through there. I never knew Eddie Murphy came through there, which even adds more to the cachet of what that night was. And I'm just like, for people who never been to LA, especially during the 90s, when hip hop was at its renaissance, when it was at its best, MTV was really showing music videos, but black videos. This is when black people, FUBU, Carl Kanai, fashion, music, sports. To be black in LA and have money, any amount of talent, and go to that night, if you couldn't get pussy, you just was a loser. It was the shit, son.
Who said that in it? Someone said something. If you couldn't get it,
Something to that degree. I don't remember who, but
I thought that was fun. I started laughing when I heard that.
one of the girls who worked the door, I love what she said. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I got finger banged by Tupac in the back. Like, nigga.
And I like a girl went,
Yeah. Dude, y'all think it was on Studio 54 level. It was sexy, dog. If you could come through that room, and even if you didn't have a name, even if you didn't have a show, but you murdered that stage, for that moment in time, you were the guy. Don't let you have a TV credit. Don't let you be in movies. And a nigga was good looking with a 6-pack. Oh, Andy. I put up Chamberlain numbers, nigga. Oh.
so when I don't want to. I love how up you are, so I don't want to take you down on this. But
I was running through pussy like a fat nigga running through a bag of peanut M&Ms.
when did your fallout with the? What year was that your fallout happened with the Comedy Store?
Oh, when I physically threw that white bitch against the wall. But here's the thing. That was mid-90s somewhere. I don't remember exactly when. But even when I got banned from the store, meaning the regular nights, I could always come to Phat Tuesday.
Oh, so Phat Tuesday was
its own entity.
So you still were going to the store?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
you
had a fallout with the store, not with Phat Tuesday.
Right. Like Pauly Shore said, he alluded to, he was like, yo, that night, Mitzi said, Guy is yours. You got the keys. Do whatever you want. So, you know, that's why that's why I could still come there.
Okay, so you were still doing Phat Tuesdays.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I love the part where Dave Chappelle, and see this, and here we go. We just talked about sucking Dave's dick. Oh God, it feels like we're in your nightmare that you had. And the black dude, when he tells the story, they cut to this black dude who used to work there all the time. He was like one of maybe 2 black dudes, but most of the guys were white, who wore the Comedy Store black T-shirt. And they said, yo, man, to get stage time, you need to seat motherfuckers. Dave, dick on the table. I'm not doing that. When you know you got the goods, there's certain things you just shouldn't settle for. And the fact that he wasn't weak enough to go, oh, the only way I can get stage time is I got to put on a T-shirt and sit people. Dave knew I'm a comic, nigga. I'm incredible. I'm not doing that. And he didn't. and he still went up.
All that being said, and I appreciate Dave for being. I'll use one of Mitzi's words.
Right.
I appreciate the moxie
There you go.
in standing up for what, saying I've already have this. I'm not doing that.
Right.
But you know for a fact how many comics worked the door.
Yeah.
A lot of very
Yeah.
famous people have worked the door at the Comedy Store.
Okay.
So I mean, it's kind of, to some people, as you saw it. Dave came from New York, from DC, right?
DC's from DC.
DC, and then he was doing New York, and then he went to LA, and so he didn't feel like he needed to do that. So that's for him.
Right.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of guys that have come up and feel that that's part of their rite of passage, was part of doing the door. So they
Right.
didn't look down on it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. I just think there's something to be said for, and you just said the word moxie, to where you believe in yourself at such a level that you, I guess, in Dave's mind goes, I'm not degrading myself
Yeah,
by doing that.
I've already done enough. I don't have to do this.
Yeah, that kind of confidence to me.
I'm not working here for free.
Right. To
So
get stage
stage
time,
time?
right. When he could also go, I'm better than a lot of the motherfuckers you got up here.
See, now that was one of the things with Mitzi. There was, to her, like, you couldn't, if you had that attitude when you came in, you weren't going to get up anyway.
Yeah. I think some guys had it. They just might have not have vocalized it.
Yes, and the people who came from somewhere else that had already established themselves, there was something different to those people
Right.
as well. But like, you weren't supposed to feel yourself that way.
Right.
To her, she liked people that were a little raw and undeveloped as well.
I guess. So she could nurture them.
Like Mark Maron tells a story on his podcast about that. She said, "Oh, very funny." She didn't. I don't think that she had passed him at that time. Said, "Very funny." She goes, "But you need a scarf. You should wear a scarf.
Scarf?
Yeah, you should wear a scarf on stage."
See, and that's exactly what I mean. Gatekeepers, man. Just sign the fucking check. The fuck is a scarf gonna do?
Well, and that's what, Maron said. He did wear a scarf for a couple weeks afterwards, but he got rid of the scarf. But he was, it made him look like the intellectual that she saw that he is.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm just saying that's part of what was going on.
Just because you are in the position doesn't mean you have to. Doesn't mean you have to. The fact that you have a place for comics to work out, develop, be seen is enough. That's enough. That is the greatest gift you are giving to us. We don't need your advice.
But I think then when it comes to, as we start at the beginning of this podcast off, black comedy, and her point in it, and her like saying who she passed and who she didn't,
Right.
who she gave stage, she realized that was not her forte, and she said to Guy, and remember, they didn't know that it was going to save the Comedy Store when she gave the room to Guy and said, "You run
Right.
it." She just gave it to him and gave it to him, carte blanche. Do what you need to do. So she must have had some understanding of that as well.
Well, when you see that it is the most profitable weekend
But
night.
she did that before when he.
Oh, no. She gave him the, okay. She kind of sort of didn't.
She knew that she already saw the potential in it.
Right. And once she saw what the potential, she gave him the keys.
Because she knew that she couldn't do what he was going to do.
Right.
So, yeah. Where are you?
Beautiful moment between Guy and his brother.
Yeah, that's we're symbolic on this one.
Yeah. And I didn't know that Guy and his brother had that kind of
I didn't know it was that. I knew that there was,
tension.
but I didn't know it was like that.
But I love when Guy goes, look, we are, we've had our tension, we don't have a problem, but please understand, he said, the guy, if anybody fuck with you, I'll lock all the doors and kill everybody in this motherfucker. And that's the part of me that went, that's why I go, I wish I always had a brother.
That-
And I mean, I got that with Ivan and Ish, but they're not technically,
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's what's cool about having a brother. And the times when, Guy got emotional, it's all around a beautiful documentary. And I love that moment where the two of them are on stage and they're beefing. And at one point, Joe says to Guy, watch how you talk to me, nigga. I'm your landlord. And then the guy responds, nigga, you can't be my landlord. I know that poetic justice money ran out a long time ago. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. I really didn't, because in my youthful arrogance, besides thinking I was the best thing ever, I didn't pay attention to a lot of motherfuckers. Yo, guy's a funny, intellectual writer.
Right.
Motherfucker could write, man. And I didn't know much about his history until watching this. Guy, hats off, man.
But it's amazing. What's amazing about it is that they are brothers. They went through this whole thing. But if you were able to put those two of their, if you were able to extrapolate from the brain the parts that made them the best,
Right.
would they have been? If you made that one Cyborg, do you have the best comic ever? If you could take the drive and the willingness to do the bullshit work and the straight up just I came funny, do you think it could?
You mean between the two of them?
Yeah, if you could put that together, does it make somebody, or do you have to have some deficiencies as a comic to make you?
I think it would make them. And after seeing that, I think Joe would need more from Guy than the other way around. Because, and I said this was actually what I said on the doc when they showed it. I went, look, man, and I've said this on the podcast, as far as crowd work and being able to assassinate a heckler, D.L. Hewley and Joe Torre, two of the baddest motherfuckers ever. Now, unlike Joe, DL can cut a motherfucker down to shreds viciously, but he also intellectually is a great comic in terms of, well, what else? He has what else?
So
Joe, material-wise, he's great at cutting motherfuckers down, but material-wise, I went, what else?
So the embodiment of Joe and Guy together is DL.
There you go.
That's what
There
you get.
you go.
That's what you get when you put both
Yes.
both sides of the brain come
Yes.
together. That's what you get.
Yes.
Did you like the scene where they're talking about basically losing an opportunity for a sitcom because they had a fight?
That's
in the room?
crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. How you don't figure that shit out is insane. And that's another thing. Like, that's one of the things I envy. I went, dude, can you imagine to be one of the Baldwin brothers or one of the Wayans brothers? Even if you fall on your face, even if you hard times kick you in the nuts, you ain't gonna be homeless. Your other three brothers are rich because y'all all do the same shit. Not saying you would ever want to lean on that, but to know you got that, that's fucking crazy.
Well, even if you lean on it for a minute and then they get you apart in their movie,
Okay.
you're done, right? You're back on. You're back up.
on.
Yeah.
That's, oh, goodness. That's all I really got, man. And there's also a great moment where, Finesse Mitchell, Jay Farrow, Michael Collier, Linnell, Tiffany Haddish, Daryl D. Militant, rest in peace, we're all talking about how they didn't get their names on the wall. And, of course, at the end of the documentary, they reveal that their names have all been put on the wall. It's a beautiful documentary. All I expected was, footage of Phat Tuesdays, old back in the day, some comic commentary, and that was it. But the thing between Joe and Guy and the comics and them getting their names on the wall, that was just the right amount of heartfelt shit that I think really made this thing well-rounded.
The heartfelt shit is really, like you said, it's what really pulls you in at the end and where you go, this was really amazing.
Yeah.
I do want to say, though, that some people might not know. There was a period in time when the person who writes on the wall, there's a certain person that does it.
Yeah.
Mitzi, and that whole time when they didn't have money, no one got their name on the wall. And to the point of this documentary, eventually other people got their names on the wall, and this whole group of people were overlooked. So it was an amazing part. It was,
Right.
But I just wanted to make sure that people understood That it wasn't like everybody else was getting their name on the wall throughout this whole period of time, and they just passed over these people.
Right.
What it was is that they, when all these other people got their names back on the wall, finally, when they got the person to do it, these people were overlooked, and that's the great justice of this movie, that you get to see them at the end come back, and they were overlooked because that time period had went by and before they did it again, and they were reminded, and they fucking took care of it. And it's amazing because you saw people get broken up about seeing their name on the wall. Like they really felt it.
Right.
But I asked you this question, and I want to ask it on this. Did you feel the part about Bob Saget playing the club was only put in because Bob Saget had passed? And rest in peace, Bob Saget. You're a fucking great dude. I enjoyed the small amount of time that I got to spend with you.
Partly, I think they took advantage of a moment, but I also think, I wish I could have seen the footage, but they said, he went up on a Phat Tuesday and he held his own. So, anytime you got a white boy that can come into the league and hang with us, I guess you kind of have to mention it.
And they also fairly mentioned that Dice went up
and said the wrong shit.
Yeah, and
well, I'm gonna tell you this. Here's the context. I guess some black person was heckling Dice on a Phat Tuesday, and he basically told him he could own them.
I could buy you.
Yeah, like 3 times over.
Yeah.
Cut to kill that white motherfucker. If I'm Dice and I'm the comic and you heckle me, how we kind of talked about with Amy Schumer in the roast, if you heckle me, all bets is off. But my thing was, where does it toe the line between him saying what he said and Michael Richards?
Well, I think it's a big difference because Dice would have pulled that line in a white room with no problem. He wasn't thinking about he, which is a good and a bad thing if you really want to separate it.
Right.
Because he wasn't looking at the room any different from any other room that he ever did.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, because Dice, he said that before in a white room. Some white dude says some shit to him, and he goes, "I could buy you 3 times."
I don't know if it's in the same context, and if it's.
I don't think he meant it in that context because Eleanor Kerrigan.
Okay, but even if you said that to a white guy, that doesn't have the same.
No, it doesn't have it.
Right.
But it does have it because a white guy, I make more money than you. You're nothing to me.
Yeah, that's still, that history makes a difference.
But he wasn't considering the history. That's what I'm saying.
Or maybe he didn't give a fuck.
I don't know. I don't know him.
Dice seems like the type of dude that if you fuck with him, all bets is off.
Maybe you're right.
Now where he might have fucked up is thinking he could get away with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To have the balls to go, oh, you gonna try me? Well, take this. I get, but that still don't mean you're gonna get away with it.
Yeah, I wonder if he never even considered it. How it would be heard in that room, but I don't know. I don't know. I've had the pleasure of getting to hang out with Dice for a weekend, but I don't know that doesn't give me an insight to how he would think about that.
Okay, that's it.
That's the show, man.
You want to give out some announcements?
Yeah, I got to pull it up. Dun dun dun. And what week, Steve? You're gonna have to cut this part right here. But what week are we? Is this? This is next week, right?
Yes. Next Wednesday.
So it's coming up here, Steve. Just 1 second. No, that's not the one I want. I want this one. Right here. All right, here we go. Steve, I'm back. Ladies and gentlemen, next week, Aries will be at the Arlington, Texas Improv, the 17th through the 20th. I will not be at that show. I'll be enjoying my kids in Hoboken, New Jersey. Following week, though, Aries and I will March 25th through the 26th will be at Cincinnati Funny Bone in Liberty Township, Ohio. The following week, March 31st through April 3rd, we're going to be at Off the Hook Comedy Club in Naples, Florida. And April 7th through the 10th, we'll be back in Bmore. We're going to be at the Comedy Factory.
Baltimore.
and April 15th through the 16th at the Funny Bone in Albany, New York. How's that?
Cool. That's good.
That gives us 6 good weeks right there.
Yeah. In any event that I don't get my Instagram back, which I'll probably know within the next week or two, as much as I don't want to start over, I think I may. So I'll keep you up to date with that. As always, Spearsburg Pod, Instagram, Spearsburg Pod, Twitter, Spearsburg Pod, YouTube, Spearsburg Pod, Patreon. This is coming to me from Deidre Burnett. I am a manager of 2 artists. They sing and write their own music. I can only play one of these artists. One of them is Stephen Morris. The other is Nandi. I think I'm going to play Nandi. But let me give you Stefan, his information anyway. Nandi is on Instagram at NANDIWESER. Stefan is on Instagram at ohmygosh.stefan. That's OHMYGOSH.STEPHEN. Her song, Nandi, this is called Free, produced by Mike Gear or something, with The Hidden Studio, written by Nandi Wesser. Nandi, it's called Free. Enjoy, y'all.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. If you'd like to know who's responsible for this shit, it was hosted by Ari Spears and Andy Steinberg, produced by Steve Merrick and Anthony Holmes, executive producer, Big Papa, Robert Kelly, and Matt Klein-Schmidt for the Laugh Button podcast. For more information on where to find us, visit SpearsburgPod.com.